Good afternoon, sir.
Everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to TYBSc Botany. I'm very much happy that this is our first interaction. Even though we are not seeing each other, we are associated with each other, we are communicating with each other, and I'm very much happy that there's a common platform, there's a common task of learning together, which has brought us together. I'm very much happy that I have been asked to deal with the angiosperm taxonomy paper with you. I feel that this may be the paper number 1 as per your schedule. I don't know exactly. For that purpose, you have to contact Dr. Savan sir or Patil ma'am, who are supposed to give you the details. Right from today, daily at exactly 2 o'clock, we'll be interacting with each other and we'll be dealing with the subject. Before I start my lecture, I request all of you to mute yourself so that all others can hear properly. There are 2 issues from my side. As far as the material is concerned, note is concerned, the material will be provided to you on your WhatsApp group, or it may be provided to you on your mail. So I'll be preparing the notes to you. Also, whatever I'm discussing today and henceforth, this particular recording will be also made available to you. There are 2 ways. This is the way where rather than recording my lecture and sharing that video, we are interacting together. And because of that, the nature of our discussion will be, I'll be sharing myself with you, with my PPT, with my interaction, and we'll be going through. And at the end, when I complete my lecture, then I will open up the chat box. So if at all you are having any questions during our discussion, you can write your questions in the chat box, and at the end of the lecture, I will be answering those questions. It may happen that during the course of discussion, you may get the answers for some questions, but if at all some questions left behind, those will be interactive, those will be solved, we'll be discussing in the chat box. I feel that you people, all TYBSc students, they are comfortable. All TYBSc students are comfortable with this particular new approach, new mode of online presentation. So I welcome you all again to TYBSc Botany, and I'm happy that I got an opportunity to interact with you, to communicate with you, to share with you my experience and obviously the subject knowledge for which we will be going ahead. The task which has been given to me is the angiosperm taxonomy, and today we'll be discussing, or from today onwards we'll be discussing the first chapter, and the title of this chapter is Origin of Angiosperms. So I'll be sharing my screen now. You can see each and every one on your screen, the presentation. So this is my screen, and this will be going ahead. As far as the origin of angiosperms is concerned, in this chapter, we are going to study the following points. The angiosperms. So what can be the definition of angiosperms? Why the angiosperms are so specific, so that we should show the interest in finding out its origin. Obviously, when we are tracing its origin, we'll be tracing this origin from 3 different categories: the probable time of the origin, the probable place of the origin, and obviously probable ancestors of the origin. when we'll be discussing with the probable ancestors, today there are more than 18 different theories have been forwarded. But as per the syllabus of the TYPC is concerned, we are going to discuss only 3 major important ancestors. It doesn't mean that all other ancestors are also not that important. They are also equally important, but these are the major ones on which the researchers, phylogenetists and the taxonomists, they concentrated. So when we talk about the angiosperms, in simple words, what is the definition of angiosperms? In defining angiosperms, there are 3 aspects which we look after. Angiosperms are those plants which are generally called as a flowering plants. It means these are having a specific reproduced structure which is known as a flower. That is first character. Secondly, all the angiosperms, they are having a very highly advanced vascular tissue system. It means they are having the xylem vessels, whereas in rest all other members, the xylem vessels are absent, only tracheids are present. Again, as far as the vascular tissue is concerned, in angiosperms, the companion cells are present in the phloem. Such a type of companion cells, they are totally absent in all other groups. And that's why they are having an advanced vascular tissue. And lastly, the angiosperms, they show 2 important embryological advancements. One, that it is having a typical 8 nucleated embryo sac. Such a type of 8 nucleated embryo sac is totally absent in all other groups, and it shows double fertilization resulting in formation of triploid endosperm. Such a type of double fertilization and formation of triploid endosperm is totally absent in all other groups. And that's why, first of all, today, as an introduction, we will begin our discussion why the angiosperms are specific. Now, you can see 2 images. Now, both are belonging to angiosperms. So, angiosperms are having the widest range of diversity. They are smallest, they are tallest, they are largest, they are miniatures, they are flexible, they are hard, they are woody. The angiosperms are present in all 5 continents. The angiosperms are present in all type of habitats. Right from the marine habitat to alpine habitat, that is on the mountain tops. All this range is present, and the details of these angiosperms we have discussed in SYBSC. So I request you to go to your notes what you have discussed in SYBSC about the angiosperm diversity. So here, as a representation, I am showing you 2 images. On left side, you can see a fingertip which is containing a single angiosperm plant, that is a thallus, and this is the lemna. Now the size of the lemna is 2 millimeters in diameter. So it is the smallest angiosperm which is recorded on the earth. This is a lemna which is 2 millimeters in size, whereas on right side we are having the banyan tree, which is the largest angiosperm on the earth, which is living more than 6,000 years, and it may sometimes spread over the area of 6 acres. A single plant is covering such a large area. Now you can see an image of this banyan tree which has been reported from the Calcutta Botanical Garden, Calcutta, or Royal Botanical Garden, Calcutta, where a single banyan tree is covering an area of almost 4 acres at a time. Similarly, I am showing the 2 flowers or 2 images. The left side image at the top is the image of a typical angiosperm flower, which is showing a pedicel, calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, a typical regular flower of angiosperm. Now, this angiosperm flower is very small. It is just 1 to 2 centimeters in size. On the contrary, towards your right side, at the top side, you can see an image of a single angiosperm flower, which is recorded in the Guinness Book of Records, which is the largest single flower of angiosperm. So this genus is Arum, and this plant is Arum vaticana. So this height of this single, I'm talking about the height. The height of this flower is almost 20 meters. It means it is almost 2 to 3 floors in height. So it is 60 feet in height. And it is a wide range. It is almost 20 to 25 feet in width. So you can see the people who are standing around that flower. And it is the single largest flower of angiosperm, which has been reported. Similarly, on the left side, you can see the flower of Kadamba. That is the flower of Neolamarckiana or Kadamba tree. And this Neolamarckiana flower, it is containing the miniature flower. You can see all the flowers equal. It is actually inflorescence. And you can see a single flower, which is very small. It is a typical bisexual flower, and it is having the size of just 0.6 to 0.8 millimeters in height. On the contrary, you can see the largest inflorescence, and that inflorescence is sunflower. You can see on the right side the image of sunflower. Very interestingly, a single sunflower inflorescence, it may contain more than 3,600 small florets. So you can see the range, diversity of angiosperm flower itself. So this is just an information. I'm not going to talk on this issue now. Let us go ahead. Why the angiosperms are specific? Angiosperms are distinct and they are dominant seed-bearing plants. That is very important character, and that's why the angiosperms have been placed in phanerogams. That is the plants which are bearing the seeds. Of the present day, sharing the unique combination of characters. Some of the characters I have discussed now. It is consisting of a vast and varied assemblage of more than, almost you can see, 3 lakh species which are spread all over the world. So the angiosperms having the largest diversity, and they are having the largest spread distribution all over the world, and the number is more than 3 lakh species. Now these are genetic, they are geographically or geologically they are considered young. It means the other plant groups, they are much more older by age, and they have evolved earlier than angiosperms, and that's why the angiosperms have evolved recently. In all characters, gross and minute, external and internal, sporophytic or gametophytic, the angiosperms, they show the great diversity in the form as a result of adaptive specialization in response to great climatic changes. Now this statement is very important thing. What this statement says? This statement says that the angiosperms are showing the largest ecological adaptation capability, and because of that, the angiosperms are showing the great diversity in its form, format, shape, and function. Some forms, they become highly elaborated, that is complex, while others become specialized because of their reduction, retrogression, and suppression. That means the angiosperms on one side, they look much more complicated in their characters. For example, in regular flowers on one side and zygomorphic flowers on other side, simple leaves on one side and pinnatified leaves on other side, then structure of stem and structure of root and modifications of stems and root you have studied in 11th and 12th and FYBSc. So it is showing the largest variation, and at the same time the angiosperms also are showing the simplicity. There are several plants which are very simple, just like I am showing you the lemna, where a single plant is represented by only two leaves. The stem is totally absent. The petioles are totally absent. The roots are totally absent. And that's why we can see a wide range. On one side, we are having the simplest plants, and on the other side, we are having the complicated plants, just like the banyan tree we have seen. Now, why the angiosperms are specific again? The sporophyte of the angiosperms, which is the dominant plant in the life cycle, is differentiated obviously in the root, stem, and leaves, and they are showing the greatest diversity. So all the root, stem, and leaves, they show the interactive adaptation. Means roots take on the function of the stems take on the function of the roots, even they take on the function of the leaves also. Even sometimes the leaves take on the function of the stem and root. For example, the leaves of Bryophyllum, they behave as a stem and they produce the new plants. Many of the times the stems, they become underground like raw or the corm, bulbs and tubers, and they produce the new plants. Similarly, you know the roots, they also can give right to the runners and new propagules. Now the angiosperms, they show the highest degree of perfection of the vascular tissue, which I already told you, with the true vessels, xylem vessels are present, and they also show the presence of companion cells in the phloem. Very interestingly, in the xylem, the true vessels, they are non-living tissue, whereas the companion cells, they are living tissue. The organization of the microsporophylls, that is stamens, and megasporophylls, that is carpels, together, they form a typical bisexual structure, and the structure is called as a flower. Now remember, before this, in all other groups, the microsporophylls are present together. They are called the male cone, whereas the female megasporophylls are born together. They are called the female cone. So male cones are separate and female cones are separate. Male plants are separate and female plants are separate. But in angiosperm, in every flower, the male reproductive organ is also present and the female reproductive organ is also present. And that's why it's a typical, very advanced structure. And that's why this structure is called the flower. But this is a typical characteristic feature which is found only in the angiosperms. Similarly, in angiosperms, there are presence of 4 microsporangia, whereas in rest of the plant groups like pteridophytes and gymnosperms, the number of microsporangia, they are indefinite, many, hundreds per microsporophyll. Similarly, the ovules are always in an ovary. That is a typical characteristic feature of the angiosperms. That is, the ovules, the seeds, they are embedded in the specialized sterile body, and the body is called the ovary. So the ovules are always enclosed in an ovary, which is a basal region of the megasporophyll. It means the seeds are present in the fruit and the fruits are present on the stem. Whereas in case of gymnosperm, the seeds are directly present on the stalk and the fruits are absent. And that's why the angiosperms are specialized. So the angiosperms have the production of 2 kinds of spores. Means the microspores, the pollen grains are separate by their shape, function and size. As well as the megaspores are concerned, they are also different in their form, shape and size. Now as far as the microspores are concerned, they are produced in indefinite number. The microspores are produced in large numbers. Many of times this number is more than thousands. Whereas in angiosperms, only 4 microspores are produced, of which only 1 is functional. That is, it is monosporic form. And that's why the angiosperms are heterosporous. They are having 2 types of spores. Now the presence of single functional megaspore, which is permanently retained in the nucellus, because this functional megaspore, which is nothing but it is a last cell of the sporophyte, it is bearing the gametophyte. So the gametophyte is endosporic, and that's why they are permanently retained in the nucellus. That is nothing but it is a megasporangium. And so the angiospermic, what we call as a flower or a bisexual reproductive body, it is using the vectors, agencies for their pollination. For example, the most common vector is the insects. It may be right from the bees and beetles to butterflies, whereas we can have the other range also, where even the air pollination or water pollination or bird pollination or even the animal pollination also can be seen. So the advancement of the angiosperms is that the angiosperms, they have evolved themselves with the co-evolution of their surrounding environmental animal life. And that's the beauty of angiosperms. At the same time, as far the pollination is concerned, it consists of a transfer of pollen grains, obviously from the one stamen to the stigma, from one another, that is from one stamen to the stigma. So spore dimorphism related in the production of endosporic gametophyte is seen. Obviously, that is the male and female gametophytes are separate. They are born in different locations, different times, and different areas with the different specific functions. Now, the angiosperms, they show the extreme reduction in their size, duration of the existence, and complexity of the structure of the gametophytic phase. Now, obviously, the male gametophyte is separate. It is present in the microspore, that is the pollen grain, whereas the female gametophyte is present in the female megaspore, and it is represented as an embryo sac. The male gametophyte has reached the limits of reduction, and it consists of a single pollen grain producing a single pollen tube, and this tube contains a tube nucleus which is vegetative and two male gametes or two nuclei. Sometimes it may be sometimes cells or it may be simply nuclei, and these two male gametes, they are non-ciliated. In the rest of the classes, the male gametes are ciliated, whereas in case of angiosperms, they are non-ciliated, and both are functional. In all of the lower plant, in pteridophytes as well as gymnosperms, only one male gamete fuses with the egg, whereas others die. Whereas in this case, both are functional, and both, one is uniting with the egg and the another is uniting with the secondary nucleus. And that's why both are functional. The female gametophyte lacks an extensive development of vegetative tissue. That is, there is no any female vegetative gametophytic tissue. It contains only the embryo sac. It contains 8 cells, out of which the 3 are called the apparatus cell, which is containing a single egg cell and 2 apparatus cells. It is containing the 3 antipodal cells on opposite side, and which are functioning as a nutritive tissue, and also they are containing the 2 polar nuclei which are coming together at the center before fertilization, and these 2 polar nuclei, they are called the secondary nucleus at the center, which is nothing but it is the beginning of endosperm mother cell. The non-motile male gametes or the nuclei, they are carried away bodily to the neighborhood of the egg apparatus through the pollen tube. So the transport of the pollen grains from the stamens to the stigma, and from the stigma to the style, and from the style to the embryo sac, it is a very important journey which is never seen in other cases. The seed or the seeds remain enclosed in the ripened ovary, which is called as the fruit. And that's why we are having a very large range of fruit form. Fruit is nothing but it is a protective layer, and the fruit is having the 3 walls: exocarp, mesocarp, and endocarp, and because of that it is having its own classification. The phenomenon of double fertilization or triple fusion is the unique characteristic feature of angiosperms. Obviously, in all other cases, the endosperm develops along with the gametophyte development, and that's why it is a pre-fertilization process. In case of angiosperms, the development of the endosperm is a post-fertilization process. That is, it is developed after fertilization, and that's why the endosperm in angiosperms is triploid. whereas in all other cases, the endosperm is haploid in nature. Now, obviously, as per the ecological complexity is concerned, the angiosperms are completely adapted to their life to be sustained on the land, in the water, or even in the air. So the angiosperms, from ecological point of view or from their habitat point of view, they can be identified as the angiosperms which are terrestrial, land plants, aquatic, that is they are marshy plants, or even they are arboreal plant, that is they are living on other trees, they are living on the walls, they are living on other plants. For example, there are several plants which like parasitic plants, viscous, which are growing on other plants. And that's why when we are trying to trace the angiosperms, when we are trying to identify the origin of angiosperms, we have to know first of all that what is meant by angiosperm and which characters are to be traced out. And for that purpose, let us go ahead with the origin of angiosperms with the first topic, and the topic is, when we have discussed what is meant by angiosperms, the first topic is probable time of the origin of angiosperms. But before we are going for the probable time of the origin of angiosperms, first of all, let us identify some of the important features which are shown by some angiosperms. Because when we are talking about the angiosperms, we are also knowing their range of evolution. So we know last time we have studied about the phylogeny. So first of all, we have to identify what is meant by primitive angiosperms. Now remember that angiosperms, they are showing both characters, that the flowers are bisexual or even the flowers are unisexual. Male flowers are separate or female flowers are separate. Again, we have to identify the simplicity. That is, the parent may be having the calyx and corolla, but there are some plants where the calyx and corolla separation is absent, only the parent is present, or even sometimes the parent is also absent. And then we are having a wide range of angiosperms and their habitat characters. Also, when we are tracing this, we have to again confirm that some angiosperms, they do not contain the xylem vessel. That is the vessels, even though it is a characteristic feature, there is a group Rhenales, which is known as a primitive angiosperm, in which the xylem vessels are absent. But remember, in all angiosperms, the companion cells are present. And because of that, when we are talking about the probable ancestors of angiosperms and when the angiosperm might have evolved, for this purpose, we should know what we are finding, what we are searching, or where should we find it and how we should find it. So for the determination of the first traces of angiosperms, we have to depend almost entirely on the fossil evidence. We have to go for the finding out the fossil evidences. Now these evidences may be available in the form of a fossil record where the leaf impressions are present, wood impressions are present, fruit impressions are present, seed impressions are present, or even there may be.
पहिल्या ब्लाउजला कसं झालं तसंच होते बघ काय माहिती आता आपलं ब्लाउजच घेऊन जात नाही आपले ब्लाउज पीसच घेत नाही
कोण बोलतंय पलीकडे म्यूट करा
तीच ना मग हे थोडं आतून मार्जिन कमी जास्त होतोय ग
पाटील मॅडम
आकांक्षा सरडे अक्षदा सरडे
मॅडम तुम्ही म्यूट करा तुमच्या लेवलला
yes sir I am trying that one
माझं ते
Now, for the determination of the first traces of angiosperms, we have to depend almost entirely on the fossil evidence. Unfortunately, the paleobotanical studies during the past few decades, almost we are searching them for the last more than 60 to 70 years, these studies, they have not been able to solve the mystery, or we could not come to the conclusion about the earliest angiosperms. This lack of paleobotanical knowledge may be, so there are two reasons which have been forwarded. One reason is that maybe due to their limited distribution in the long past, because if at all we are trying to search the fossil record, it means the plants should grow in the area where there is a chances of getting fossilization, getting fossilized. It means the vegetation must be present somewhere near the water body, so that when the plants are obviously dying, they get impressed, they get suppressed in the material like a sedimentation, and they can form the fossil record. Or another cause, maybe they may be playing an insignificant role that they might be have played in the vegetation of the world. It means initially the angiosperms might have been present in a very less quantity, less form, and because of that the angiosperm records may not be available. Now here actually it is not a clear image. This is not a clear image, but you can see this is showing a geological time scale. So we have to see from the bottom where the origin of Earth or the formation of Earth is written. And remember, these figures at the center, they are representing the million years ago. So each figure is million years, means 1 million year is equal to 10 lakh years. म्हणजे 1 मिलियन म्हणजे 10 लाख वर्ष. आणि हा जो आकडा आहे, हा आकडा सगळा अशा पद्धतीने अब्जावधी वर्षामध्ये आहे. So it shows the beginning of the earth, which initiated somewhere about 4.6 billion years ago. And you can see almost half of the period, there was a, which is called the Precambrian period, where there was no any vegetation at all. Now, rather than seeing this image, we will go for the next image. Now here you can see. Now on left side, you can see the eons, that is Phanerozoic, Hadean, Archean, and Pterozoic. You can see the eras now. Now eras of the periods where we are getting the records, fossil records. So at the center, you can see the Paleozoic period. The Paleozoic period initiated somewhere about 800 million years ago, and it ended somewhere about 280 million years ago. Next comes the Mesozoic period, which started at 240 million years ago, and it ended almost 135 million years ago. And then the recent period, which is known as the Cenozoic. Remember, the total Earth's life is 4.6 billion years ago. म्हणजे साधारणपणे 4,500 वर्षापूर्वी पृथ्वीची उत्पत्ती झाली. पण पृथ्वीवरती जी जीवसृष्टी आपल्याला दिसते ही फक्त गेल्या 500 वर्षातली आहे, म्हणजे 500 कोटी वर्षापूर्वीची आहे. म्हणजे त्याच्या अगोदरचे 4,000 कोटी वर्ष या पृथ्वीवरती कुठली जीवसृष्टी नव्हती. Now within this geological chart, again remember, we are going to concentrate on the Mesozoic period. See at the center, and in the Mesozoic period I have written at the top the Cretaceous period. In front of it, it is written 138 degrees, 38 million years back. And then the Cenozoic period is having the two areas. One is called the Tertiary period and another is known as the Quaternary period. Remember, the Paleozoic period, Mesozoic period, and Cenozoic period, these eras, they are separated because there was a lot of changes took place in between from one era to another era. Particularly in Paleozoic period, for 25 million years, म्हणजे जवळजवळ 250 लाख वर्ष त्या दरम्यानच्या मधल्या काळामध्ये त्या पृथ्वीवरती कुठल्याही प्रकारची जीवसृष्टी नव्हती. तर या दरम्यानच्या काळामध्ये मी पॅलिओझोइक टू मेसोझोइक पिरियड मध्ये एक प्रचंड मोठा अग्नी पृथ्वीवर येऊन पडला आणि पृथ्वीचं जवळजवळ 1/3 भाग निघून गेला आणि ज्याच्यापासून चंद्र बनला. आणि तेव्हा हा जो पिरियड आहे, इट इज कॉल्ड एज अ मास एक्सटिंक्शन ऑफ पर्मियन मास. The same thing happened in the Mesozoic period also, where the Pacific Ocean originated. So there were areas where we are finding the large gaps of extinction. And then in the fossil records of Cretaceous period, we are getting some life forms of angiosperms, and that's why I deliberately showed this image. Now let's go ahead. So the probable time of origin, now what the records say, the early Cretaceous period, as early as in 1894, Saporta, he described the overall leaf fragments from the rocks of and these records they have been identified as per their age. So the Aptenian age of Portugal, it is having its life of almost 125 million years back. So this area is present in Portugal, which were represented as angiosperms. From this region, a significant number was recorded, including the Salix, Aralia, Brasiliopsis, Myrica, Laurus, and many others, including Eucalyptus and Magnolia. Seward in 1926, he described an interesting assemblage of fossil records or fossil plants from the Cretaceous period from the Western Greenland. Now this Western Greenland is nothing but it is on the seashores of the Pacific Ocean, and this included the Artocarpus, Quercus, Platanus, and many others. Now let us in continuation in an early Cretaceous fossil record, the Bell in 1956, in a comprehensive study of the plants, he has recorded from the different localities of lower Cretaceous age from Western Canada. Again, it is close to the Greenland, and he described the genera which included Populitis, Ficus, Sapindiosis, the Trocodendroids, Celastrophyllum, Selamoids, and Sapindopsis. From Aptian zones, again in the same era of 125 million years ago in England, the Maristops in 1915, she described the fossil wood record of dicots which were belonged to Aptinia, Auburnia, Hydia, Sabunia, and Cantia, and many others. Obviously, I have just mentioned few of them. The Samalina, she was a Russian scientist in 1959. She reported from a lower Cretaceous flora of eastern Siberia, that is northern part of Russia, having the numbers of, that is the records of Lauracea, Rosacea, Rhamnacea, Leguminosae, Araliaceae, etc. Remember, almost most of these families today, they are having the representative which is known as an advanced angiosperm. Means these records, 125 million years, they were showing the records of advanced angiosperms. Actually, we are searching for the primitive angiosperms, but unfortunately, some of the genera, they were belonging to the advanced angiosperms. Now, these are some of the records which I have just compiled, the images. Now, these are the images of leaf impressions, fruit impressions, flower impressions, and sometimes even you can see the pollen impressions. So this is an assemblage of the fossil records, the Cretaceous fossils of angiosperms, as they have been reported by various paleobotanists. Now, after this, the Upper Cretaceous period, the abundance of genera and families which belong to the advanced angiosperms. So obviously this area is, or this particular zone or strata is much more dominant by the fossil records. Now these floras of the Amboy clays of New Jersey, obviously New Jersey is nothing but this is the area which is present in the New Zealand, Newberry, Dakota sandstone, this is the area of Kansas that is coming in the England, Nebraska and Minnesota, these are the areas which are nearby, and the basin of Rocky Mountain system. Now remember, Rocky Mountain system is belonging to the Northern America. So these are the areas which are present in America. And Vancouver Island, which is close to the France. So from these different areas, particularly from the European region, from the American zone, even from the Australian, New Zealand, we are finding lot of angiosperms records which are truly angiosperms. Now there are more these records were much more richer in angiospermic genera, which altogether count for more than 700 to 750 forms. So they are most of the present day genera. So most of these are extant genera. Extant genera means present day genera records. So they are much more closer to the present day angiosperms. So similarly, the indisputable dicot fruits, they have been reported from Vologian deposits of southern France. Now this is the area which is closer to Czechoslovakia and Poland. So this is nothing but this is the western part of China, and they are showing the regions where the dicot fruits have been preserved. Now remember, this particular zone is very close, or you can say it is a margin of Sahara Desert. So on one side of Sahara Desert, we are finding the fossil records, and also in the northern California, obviously from the America. So Chandler and his students, they reported several fruits from these zones. Now, as per the early Cretaceous period is concerned, the abundance of genera and families of the angiosperms, it characterizes the upper Cretaceous flora. Now, this upper Cretaceous flora is the range where it starts with 110 million years to almost 92 million years. So this is a zone, and this zone is known as the upper Cretaceous flora. Now from Albian to Cenomanian zone or Cenomanian strata, the angiosperms, they have been found steadily and progressively in almost all parts of the world. So the fossil records are abundant in this particular strata. According to Hughes in 1961, angiosperms are considered to be evolved during the Permian period. So this period is coming from the lower Cretaceous period, which is much more earlier, and this is ranging, you can say, at the end of the Mesozoic period. So Permian period, it was the end of the Mesozoic period and beginning of the Cretaceous period. So this is the period, Permian period, where 125 million years ago strata, and also in the Aptian times, as initially they were wrongly identified as gymnosperms, but later on with the detailed study, it was revealed that they are not the angiosperms, but they belong to the actually true angiosperms, and they are distributed in the different European zones of the world. So obviously from the Aptian to Albian region, that is from 135 million years to 110 million years, within this strata, almost all over the world, in all 5 continents, we are finding the angiosperms, and we are getting the fossil records of angiosperms, woods, leaves, pollen grains, and even sometimes they are reported as the seeds. And because of that, this record is much more diverse and abundant. Up to Albian times, the angiosperms appear to be comparatively very less. So in earlier forms, they are very less, but evidently they are formed only small populations with the smaller number of individuals. So the extant genera were also very less in number, and their spread also much more limited. But later on, we have found a larger spread. At the close of the Albian period, the angiosperms came to be widely distributed throughout the world. It means they spread almost in all the areas or all the zones, regions of the world. They appeared in the great diversity. So this is particularly in the upper Cretaceous period, the fossil records which are present, they can be very clear-cut identified as a close representative of the today's present day angiosperms. And that's why from that time onwards, that is almost 100 million years ago onwards, the angiosperms are showing the greatest diversity. Now remember, the several records of the zone, they are clearly indicating the records of dicots and monocots together. Means the angiosperms, that is dicots and monocots, they might have evolved much more earlier than this zone. Most of these Cretaceous angiosperms, they belong to the extinct genera. Extinct genera means present genera comparison, and they are representatives of more or less primitive forms as well as the highly evolved ones of angiosperms. So all this Cretaceous period record, it is an assemblage, it's a gathering of primitive angiosperms as well as advanced angiosperms, and because of that it is not going to give us a very clear cut idea. Now as far as the late Cretaceous period is concerned, which is around say 100 million years ago, so 135 million years to 100 million years. So the vast and rapid spread of angiosperms is one of the most important events in the history of life upon Earth. So we are finding these angiosperms, they dominated all the areas, and they almost conquered all the areas within a very short time, and that's why their spread was much more rapid. So it is just like it is called the angiosperm explosion. From paleobotanical point of view, this is recorded, or this is known as an angiosperm explosion, because we are getting a largest diversity here. Now the whole process of angiosperms, it almost took 25 million years of their spread or evolutionary trend, and right from the primitive forms to advanced forms, we are supposed to get the angiosperms within this strata of 25 million years, and this is covering almost half of the Cretaceous period. Now remember, as far as the Cretaceous period is concerned, the Cretaceous period began with 210 million years back and it ended with 100 million years back. But about half of the Cretaceous period, it was covering the Benitates group, it was containing the primitive Gymnospermous group, and lastly, they were containing even the Angiospermous records. And that's why this whole process, when we are talking about the angiospermic evidence of the records and justification, this is considered to be neither too slow or neither too fast for its steady progress, and this is reported and this is supported by the fossil records. But even though we are discussing this issue, at that time we have to keep in mind that several of the fossil records, even during this time, they belong to the advanced angiosperms. Even the records, they clearly indicated they're having an affinity towards the dicots as well as towards the monocots. And when we say angiosperms, we are believing the angiosperms initially they had a common origin. From this common origin, initially the dicots originated, and from these dicots later on the monocots originated. Means we have to find a monocot, we are supposed to find an angiosperm which is neither a monocot nor a dicot. It means only when this particular area it is showing a typical dicot and monocot form, it means the angiosperms might have evolved much more earlier than this period. Now why we are not getting the record? One reason was given by the Smith at that time, and the Smith said that the angiosperms might have evolved at that time at the alpine zone or alpine region. Alpine means the angiosperms evolved on the mountain tops. And you know well, at the mountain tops, there are no rivers, there are no lakes, there is no water body. And because of that, even though the angiosperms began on the mountain tops, there was no any fossil record as such. And slowly, when the angiosperms, they migrated themselves from the alpine region, that is mountain top region, to the land, then only they showed the record. And because of that, in later phase, we are getting the angiosperm record, which is a sort of a mixture of primitive forms and advanced forms together. And because of that, this is considered to be neither fast or slow, and its steady progress is supported by the fossil records. But again, one issue we have to keep in mind, that all these records, they are can be categorized into its origin into dicot or monocot form, and because of that we have to search the angiosperms even much more earlier. Now, I have written a word Permian period. Now, where the Permian period comes, let's go back to the image. Now, you can see the image. We were talking about the Mesozoic period, which was about 135 million years back. That is the Cretaceous period. And in the Cretaceous period, we are finding a lot of number of fossil records of angiosperms. That is late Cretaceous and early Cretaceous. In this zone, basically, the true angiospermic record is available. But the present record says, and the paleobotanists say, the angiosperm must be traced much more earlier than this, and it should be traced at the end of Paleozoic period, and the end of Paleozoic period is nothing but Permian period, and this Permian period is almost 280 to almost 240 million years back. But unfortunately, dear students, one has to remember that after Permian period, there was a drastic geological change on the earth. A large mass of asteroid hit to the earth, and almost 95% of the life on the earth, it was removed. The earth became extinct. And after that, there was a total change. Initially, the water body was much more higher. In Paleozoic period, the water body was more and land mass was less. In Mesozoic period, because of this hit of the asteroid, the whole environment changed. The water body was removed, it was less, the land mass increased in size, and the Mesozoic period is highlighted by the tropical environment. Means the temperatures rose in this zone. In Paleozoic period, it is suggested that the temperatures were always less than 15 degrees Celsius. In Mesozoic period, these temperatures, they were raised to more than 25 degrees Celsius. There is a major difference of 10 degrees. And because of that, in Mesozoic period, most of the gymnosperms or drought-resistant plants appeared. And also this was characterized with the dinosaurs. So they were the drought plants and they were the drought animals. Whereas in Paleozoic period, they were herbaceous forms and herbaceous animals. Unfortunately, such a type of drought zone, it has been sustained and it has been overcome by the fossil angiosperms. And because of that, now it is suggested that the search for the angiosperms must be much below than Cretaceous period, and that is in the Permian period. In the opinion of several authors, the angiosperms undoubtedly originated much more earlier than Cretaceous period, and this particular conclusion has been derived because of the complexity in their anatomical characters, complexity in their fruit and seed characters and pollen grain characters. So based on the comparative account, this statement has been made. According to many scientists, like Just in 1948, Ames 1961, even the most famous Russian taxonomist Takhtajan in 1969, the early Mesozoic period, about 200 million years ago, may be the most likely period for the origin of angiosperms. Now, when we are pinpointing some area of age, at that time there are two questions one should know or one should keep in their mind. The first question is, if at all it should have been at 200 million years ago, which were the plants which were present at that time from which the angiosperms originated? And second question, what was the area, what was the region, what was the life form, what was the earth form which was present? Because remember, all 5 continents what we see today, that is called the Gondwana period, these continents, they have appeared on the earth almost in last 100 million years ago. Before that, all 5 continents, they were present together as a single landmass, and this single landmass was called as a Pangaea. So in the Mesozoic period, the whole landmass was present as a single landmass and it was called as a Pangea, then we have to identify which was the area from the Pangea the angiosperms might have evolved, which were the earlier plants which were present of the different groups from which the angiosperms might have originated, and we have to now find one more character, that which are the fossil localities which are giving us the true angiospermic fossil record. Now this is a sort of an image I want to keep. This is the image of the fossil records and their earliest records which are available. So you can see the zones on the left side. At the bottom you can see the Paleozoic period, which is ending up to the Permian period. Then in the middle you can see the Mesozoic period, starting with the Triassic, Jurassic and in Cretaceous. And then you can see the Cenozoic period. So you can see in the Paleozoic period up to Permian, these records show that there was a presence of algae as well as there were protozoans. Later on in the Permian period or in Carboniferous period, you can see the earliest records of bryophytes, pterophytes and even gymnosperms are recorded. There is a fossil records. Even there is a one specialized group which is recorded here, and that group is pteridosperms. So these were the pterophytes which were having the seed bearing habit, and these plants they dominated in the Carboniferous period as well as in the Permian period. However, the fossil records show, you can see the image that in the last column you can see the angiosperms, and the records show the angiosperms are recorded in the Cretaceous period, and to some extent in a questionable form the angiosperms were also present in the mid-Mesozoic period, that is in the Jurassic period. Now when we are tracing the angiosperm origin, we have to keep in mind that there has to be an undisputable, a very clear-cut fossil evidence of the angiosperms. Unfortunately, the fossil evidences which are available, they are present only up to the Cretaceous period, and because of that, the origin of time of angiosperms on the fossil records is not giving us any clear-cut idea, but definitely it is indicating, it is suggesting that the angiosperms might have evolved much more earlier than Cretaceous period. So this is about the all discussion on what are the angiosperms, why the angiosperms are specific, and what can be a probable time of angiosperms as far as the geological time scale is concerned. Today we will break here, we'll stop here, and we'll continue our discussion on probable place of angiosperms in our tomorrow's lecture, because I'm sure that it is not possible for you to palette all these things together in a single lecture. So we'll be splitting the lectures in different sections. So today we have concentrated on only two issues, or today we have discussed three issues. One, what is meant by angiosperms? What are the characteristics and what is the specificity of the angiosperms? Then what is the geological time scale or geological timetable, and what are the probable fossil records of the angiosperms in different stratas, different ages or different geological time scales. And this lecture was related with the origin of angiosperms, related with its probable time. So with this lecture, now let us stop for the present. Tomorrow again we'll be meeting at 2 o'clock sharp, and we'll be continuing our today's lecture. In the afternoon, Patil ma'am will be providing you the notes related with this topic. So go through these notes, see these lectures again, and try to understand as much as possible. If at all you are having any queries, now you can ask me. I will open the chat box. If there are no queries, even on the last day, you can ask me the questions, and we can keep an interactive lecture or interaction session at the time, which can go ahead for the discussion. So I thank you all for being with me for a long period through this online lecture series. So this was the first lecture. Much of the components you are already knowing, because right from the 11th standard onwards, you have studied the angiosperms, you are knowing about the diversity of angiosperms, you are knowing the specific characters of the angiosperms, and to some extent, you might be knowing about the geological time scale. So today we have covered why the angiosperms are specific and what is the probable time of origin of angiosperms. Thank you. Have a great day. Stay at home, take care, and stay safe. Good afternoon.